Rain has a way of turning the world into a stranger. It blurs everything. Streetlights, trees, your own reflection in the windshield. That night, 3 years ago, the rain wasn't just a storm. It was a curtain, hiding something that still makes my hands shake when I talk about it. I was driving home from a buddy's place, way out in the sticks, on a back road I knew like the back of my hand. It was late, close to midnight, and the rain was coming down so hard my wipers were useless. My old hatchback groaned under the effort, tires sloshing through puddles that seemed to swallow the road. I was alone, no other cars in sight, and the radio was just spitting static. The only sounds were the rain hammering the roof and my own breathing, shallow and quick, though I didn't know why yet. I'd driven this road 100 times, but something felt off. The kind of off that makes your skin crawl before your brain catches up. Maybe it was the way the trees loomed over the road, their branches clawing at the sky like they were alive. Or maybe it was the darkness, thicker than it should have been, like the rain was soaking up the light. I shook it off, told myself I was just tired. 30 minutes to home, I thought. Just keep driving. But 10 miles in, my car betrayed me. The engine sputtered, the headlights flickered, and before I could react, everything died. The car coasted to a stop on the shoulder, silent except for the rain pounding the metal like 1,000 tiny fists. I sat there, gripping the wheel, heart thumping in my chest. I turned the key. Nothing. Not a click. Not a whine. The dashboard was dark. My phone showed no bars, and the rain was so loud it felt like it was inside my skull. I was stranded, miles from anywhere, with no way to call for help. Then I noticed the fog. It came out of nowhere, thick and gray, rolling over the road like a living thing. It swallowed the trees, the asphalt, everything beyond 10 feet. I couldn't see the road behind me anymore, just a wall of mist that seemed to pulse with every crash of thunder. I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was a dead battery or water in the engine. I grabbed my flashlight from the glove box, pulled my hoodie tight, and stepped out into the storm. The rain was freezing, soaking me in seconds, stinging my face like needles. I popped the hood, my hands shaking so bad I could barely get it open. The engine looked fine. No loose wires, no smoke. But what did I know? I'm no mechanic. I was about to give up when I heard it. A sound, low and guttural, like a dog growling, but deeper. Wrong. It came from the woods to my left, just beyond the fog. I froze, flashlight beam slicing through the rain, but all I saw were dripping branches and shadows that seemed to shift when I wasn't looking. The growl came again, closer, and my stomach twisted into knots. I slammed the hood shut, the clang swallowed by the storm, and bolted back to the driver's seat. I locked the doors, my breath fogging the windows, and told myself it was just an animal. A coyote, maybe, or a stray dog. But the growl didn't stop. It moved, circling the car, slow and deliberate, like whatever it was knew I was trapped. The rain made it impossible to see anything clearly, but I swore I saw something in the fog, tall, too tall, slipping between the trees. My flashlight was useless. The beam just bounced off the mist. I turned it off to save the battery and sat in the dark, listening, praying it would go away. That's when the tapping started. Soft at first, like a fingernail on glass, coming from the passenger window. I didn't look. I couldn't. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. The tapping got louder, more insistent, moving to the back window, then the driver's side. It wasn't random. It was testing me, circling, waiting for me to break. I kept my eyes straight ahead, whispering, "It's nothing, it's nothing," but I knew it wasn't nothing. Then, silence. No tapping, no growling, just the rain. I let out a shaky breath, thinking maybe it was gone. That's when the car shook. Something heavy slammed into the side, hard enough to rock the whole frame. I screamed, fumbling for the flashlight, and swung it toward the window. Nothing, just rain and fog. But the car shook again, this time from the back, like something was trying to climb on. I twisted in my seat, shining the light, and that's when I saw it. A shape, tall, hunched, vaguely human but wrong, crouched on the trunk. Its eyes caught the light, glowing like coins, and its mouth, God, its mouth was too wide, stretched into a grin that showed too many teeth. Its skin looked wet, slick, like it was part of the rain itself. I don't know how long I stared. Seconds maybe, but it felt like years. Then it moved, sliding off the car and vanishing into the fog. I was shaking so bad I dropped the flashlight. I locked the doors again, even though I knew it wouldn't help. The rain kept pounding, and every few minutes, I'd hear that growl or feel the car shift, like it was still out there watching. I tried to think of a plan: run, hide, fight, but my mind was a mess. Run where? Into the woods? With that thing? I stayed put, clutching the steering wheel like it could protect me, counting the seconds between thunderclaps to keep from losing it. Hours passed, or maybe it just felt like hours. The storm didn't let up, and neither did the thing outside. At one point, I heard scratching, like claws dragging across the roof. Slow, deliberate, like it was carving something. I didn't dare look up. I just sat there, eyes fixed on the windshield, watching the rain streak down like tears. Then, a new sound, whispering. Not words, not exactly, but a low, hissing murmur that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was saying my name. I don't know how I knew, but I felt it, deep in my bones. It knew me. I started praying, something I hadn't done since I was a kid. I begged for the rain to stop, for the sun to come up, for anything to make it go away. The whispering got louder, closer, until it felt like it was inside the car, inside my head. I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The car shook again, harder, and I heard a thud on the roof, like something had jumped on. I screamed again, my voice hoarse, and swung the flashlight up. The beam caught nothing but rain, but the thud came again, and the roof creaked, like it was bending under weight. I don't know how I survived those hours. I kept the flashlight off to save the battery, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thing's face, those eyes, that grin. Around 3 a.m., I noticed something new. The fog was thinning, just enough to see the road again. The rain was still heavy, but the growling had stopped. I thought maybe it was over. Then I saw the footprints. They were in the mud beside the car, fresh, leading from the woods to my door. They weren't human, too big, with long, pointed toes that dug deep into the ground. They stopped right at my window. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stared at the prints, waiting for the next sound, the next shake. But nothing came. The storm raged on, and I sat there, frozen, until the sky started to lighten. Around 4 a.m., I heard a rumble, not a growl, but an engine. Headlights cut through the rain, and a tow truck pulled up. The driver, an older guy with a gray beard, knocked on my window. I nearly cried from relief. He said he'd gotten a call about a stranded car, but I hadn't called anyone. No signal, no way to. I didn't care, I just wanted out. He hooked up my car, and I rode with him to the nearest town, my eyes glued to the rearview mirror, expecting to see those glowing eyes in the dark. When we got to the garage, the mechanic couldn't find anything wrong. The car started right up, like it had never died. I didn't tell them about the thing in the fog. They'd think I was crazy. But when I got home, I checked the car. There were scratches on the trunk, deep, jagged marks, like claws. And on the roof, carved into the paint, was a symbol I didn't recognize. All sharp angles and curves, like it was meant to mean something. I sold the car a week later. I don't drive back roads anymore, especially not in the rain. Sometimes when a storm rolls in, I hear that tapping on my window, faint but unmistakable. And once, just once, I woke up to find muddy footprints on my porch, big, with pointed toes, leading nowhere. Rainy nights always remind me of my grandma's house, but not in a cozy, nostalgic way. It's the kind of memory that makes your heart race and your eyes dart to the shadows. 3 years ago, when I was 19, Grandma passed away and left me her old house in the middle of nowhere, a creaky 2-story relic in the countryside, surrounded by fields and woods. I decided to spend a weekend there to sort through her things, even though the place always gave me the chills. The weatherman warned of a massive storm rolling in, but I figured I could handle a little rain. I was wrong. What happened that night still haunts me, and I swear, something in that house wasn't human. I got there just before dusk, as the first drops started to fall. The house looked like it was waiting for me. Dark windows, sagging porch, paint peeling like dead skin. The air smelled of damp wood and something sour I couldn't place. Inside, it was worse. The furniture was draped in dust. The floorboards groaned under every step, and the walls seemed to lean in, like they were listening. I dropped my bag in the living room and started poking around, trying to ignore the way the rain was picking up outside, drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. By nightfall, it was a full-blown storm, wind howling, windows rattling, thunder shaking the whole house. The power flickered, making the old lamps buzz and hum. I figured I'd start with Grandma's bedroom upstairs, where she kept most of her personal stuff. The stairs creaked so loud I thought they'd collapse, and the air got colder with every step. Her room was frozen in time. Lace curtains, a heavy wooden bed, a dresser covered in faded photos. I started sorting through drawers, finding old letters, jewelry, and a leather-bound journal that caught my eye. It was worn, the pages yellowed, filled with Grandma's spidery handwriting. I flipped it open, curious, and noticed something strange. She kept writing about the lights. Entries like, "Kept the lights on again last night. It was at the window." Or, "Heard it in the attic. Lights stayed on." Grandma wasn't the type to scare easy. She'd lived alone in that house for decades, so what was she afraid of? I set the journal down, my skin prickling. The storm was getting worse. The rain so loud it drowned out my thoughts. The power flickered again, then went out completely. The house plunged into darkness, and the silence was worse than the noise. No hum of the fridge, no buzz of lights, just the rain and wind screaming outside. I fumbled for my flashlight, its beam weak and shaky, and lit a couple of candles I found in the kitchen. The shadows danced on the walls, stretching and twisting in ways that made my stomach churn. I told myself it was just the storm, just my imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling I wasn't alone. That's when I heard the knock. 3 slow, heavy thumps on the front door, barely audible over the rain. I froze, flashlight in hand, staring down the hall. Who'd be out here in this weather? No neighbors for miles, no reason for anyone to show up. I waited, holding my breath, hoping it was a branch or the wind. But it came again, louder, deliberate, like someone was pounding with a fist. My heart was racing, but I crept to the door, peering through the peephole. Nothing, just rain and darkness, the porch light dead. I backed away, telling myself it was nothing, but then I heard it from the back door. 3 knocks. Same rhythm, same weight. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hands shaking so bad I nearly dropped it, and checked every window. The rain made it impossible to see outside, like the world had been erased. The knocks kept coming, moving from door to window to wall, like something was circling the house, looking for a way in. I remembered Grandma's journal and ran upstairs to her bedroom, where she kept a lamp she always left on. I plugged it in, praying the power would come back, but it was dead. That's when I saw the scratches on the window. They were deep, carved into the glass, like something had clawed at it from the outside. They weren't there when I arrived. I was sure of it. My stomach dropped, and I backed away, tripping over a box of old clothes. The knocks stopped, but now there was a new sound. A low, raspy whisper, like someone saying my name, coming from the attic. I don't know why I didn't just run. Maybe it was the journal, or some stupid need to know what Grandma was so scared of. I grabbed the knife and flashlight, climbed the attic ladder, and pushed open the trapdoor. The air up there was freezing, thick with the smell of mold and something metallic, like blood. The attic was a maze of boxes, old furniture, and cobwebs that clung to my face. My flashlight barely cut through the dark, and every step made the floor groan. The whisper came again, closer, and I swung the beam around, catching something in the corner. An old mirror, tall and cracked, covered in dust. I wiped it clean, my reflection pale and distorted. For a split second, I saw something behind me, a figure, tall and thin, with eyes like black pits and a mouth that didn't move. I spun around, knife raised, but the attic was empty. The whisper turned into a laugh, low and guttural, and the mirror cracked louder, a jagged line splitting my reflection in two. I bolted down the ladder, slamming the trapdoor shut, and locked myself in the bathroom. The whispers followed, seeping through the walls, saying my name over and over. I sat on the floor, knife in one hand, flashlight in the other, staring at the door. The storm raged outside, thunder shaking the house, but the whispers were louder, closer, like they were coming from inside the room. I checked the lock a dozen times, my hands slick with sweat. Then I saw it, water seeping under the door, black and oily, pooling on the tiles. It wasn't rain. It moved, spreading like fingers reaching for me. I don't know how long I stayed there, curled up against the wall, listening to the whispers and watching the water creep closer. The candles in the hall had gone out, and my flashlight was flickering, the batteries dying. Every few minutes, I'd hear a creak, like someone walking downstairs, or a thud, like something heavy falling. I kept thinking about Grandma's journal, her warnings about the lights. Why didn't she tell anyone? What was she hiding? Around 3 a.m., the whispers stopped, and the house went quiet. Too quiet, like the storm was holding its breath. I thought maybe it was over, but then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming up the stairs. They stopped outside the bathroom door. I held my breath, clutching the knife, waiting for the handle to turn. It didn't. Instead, there was a scratch, slow and deep, like nails dragging down the wood. It went on for minutes, maybe hours, until I was sure the door would splinter. Then, silence again. I didn't move, didn't blink, until the first light of dawn crept through the window. The storm had slowed to a drizzle, and the power came back on, the bathroom light flickering to life. I waited another hour before I dared open the door. The hall was empty, but the door was covered in scratches, deep, jagged marks that hadn't been there before. I grabbed my bag and left, driving straight home without looking back. I sold the house a month later, but I kept Grandma's journal. The last entry read, "It knows my name. The lights won't help anymore." I don't know what was in that house, but I hear those whispers in my dreams sometimes, especially when it rains. Once, during a storm, I found water on my apartment floor. Black, oily, moving like it was alive. I moved the next week. I don't visit the countryside anymore, and I always leave a light on at night, just in case. Rainy nights have a way of making the world feel smaller, like it's just you and whatever's hiding in the dark. 2 years ago, I worked the graveyard shift at a rundown gas station on the edge of town, a lonely outpost for truckers, drifters, and the occasional lost soul. It was a boring job, stocking shelves, mopping floors, watching the clock tick toward dawn. But one stormy night in March, the rain brought something to that gas station that wasn't human, and I haven't been the same since. What happened still wakes me up at night, and I swear I'll never work alone after dark again. It was around 11 p.m. when the storm hit. The rain came down in sheets, so thick it looked like a wall outside the glass doors. The wind howled, shaking the windows, and the neon sign above the pumps flickered like it was about to give up. I was behind the counter, flipping through a dog-eared magazine, trying to stay awake. The store was empty, the only sounds the hum of the cooler and the rain pounding the roof like it wanted in. I'd worked plenty of stormy nights before, but this one felt different. The air was heavy, like a weight pressing on my chest, and every so often I'd catch myself glancing at the doors, expecting something. Around midnight, the bell above the door chimed. Sharp, loud, cutting through the rain. I looked up, but no one came in. The door was still closed, locked tight, the glass fogged with condensation. I frowned, figuring the wind must have rattled it, but the bell chimed again, slower, like someone was shaking it on purpose. I checked the security camera feed on the little monitor under the counter, but the screen was just static, probably fried by the storm. I tried switching cameras, outside pumps, back lot, inside aisles, nothing but snow. My skin prickled, and I told myself it was just a glitch, but the air felt thicker now, like someone was standing right behind me. I stood up, grabbing the baseball bat we kept under the counter for trouble, and walked to the door. The bell was still, the store empty, but I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. I checked the lock, secure, and peered through the glass. The rain was too heavy to see much, just the faint glow of the pumps and shadows that seemed to twist in the wind. That's when I noticed one of the pumps was on. The digital display was ticking, like someone was fueling up, but there was no car, no truck, nothing. I cursed under my breath, thinking the storm must have tripped the sensor, and grabbed my jacket. I didn't want to go out there, but a running pump meant gas spilling everywhere, and I couldn't afford to get fired. The rain hit me like a slap, cold and relentless, soaking me in seconds. I jogged to the pump, bat in one hand, flashlight in the other. The nozzle was lying on the ground, gas pooling in the rain, the smell sharp and dizzying. I shut it off, my hands shaking, and that's when I saw the footprints. They were fresh, pressed into the wet concrete, leading from the pump toward the store. They weren't normal. Too big, with long, pointed toes that didn't look human. Worse, they stopped halfway, like whoever made them had just vanished. I swung my flashlight around, the beam cutting through the rain, but there was nothing. Just the storm and the dark. I ran back inside, locking the door behind me, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it over the rain. The bell chimed again, louder, and the lights flickered, buzzing like angry bees. I checked the cameras, still static. Then I heard it, a low, wet gurgle, like someone choking on water coming from the back room where we kept the stock. My stomach twisted, but I gripped the bat and crept toward the sound, telling myself it was a busted pipe or the storm playing tricks. The back room was dark, the air thick with a smell like rotting meat, sharp enough to make my eyes water. The gurgle stopped, but now there was scratching, like nails dragging across wood coming from the storage closet. I don't know why I didn't just run. I should have called the cops, but my phone was dead, no signal, no battery, and the landline wasn't working, just a faint hum when I picked it up. I grabbed the closet handle, my hand slick with sweat, and yanked it open. Nothing. Just boxes, mops, and a pile of empty cans. But the scratching kept going, faster now, like it was coming from inside the walls. I backed out, my flashlight flickering, and that's when the lights went out completely. The store plunged into darkness, except for the faint green glow of the emergency exit sign. Something moved in the shadows, a shape, tall and crooked, darting across the aisle so fast I barely saw it. I swung the bat, hitting nothing but air, and stumbled back toward the counter. The gurgle came again, closer, and I felt breath on my neck, cold, damp, like it came from a grave. I spun around, bat raised, but there was nothing there. The scratching was everywhere now, echoing in the walls, the ceiling, the floor. The bell went crazy, ringing like it was possessed, and the glass doors rattled like something was trying to get in. I ducked behind the counter, my breath ragged, and noticed something on the floor. Wet, black hair, tangled and slimy, like it had been torn out. It hadn't been there before. I don't know how long I stayed there, crouched in the dark, listening to the storm and the sounds that didn't belong. The gurgle turned into a whisper, not words, but a low hissing sound that made my skin crawl. It was saying my name. I don't know how I knew, but I felt it, like a hook in my chest. I clutched the bat, praying for the lights to come back, for the storm to stop, for anything to make it go away. Around 2 a.m., I heard a new sound. Footsteps, heavy and uneven, coming from the aisles. They were slow, deliberate, like whatever it was wanted me to hear it coming. I peeked over the counter, my flashlight barely working, and saw something in the far aisle. It was tall, hunched, its limbs too long, its head tilted at a wrong angle. It moved like it was crawling, but upright, its fingers dragging on the floor. I couldn't see its face, but I felt its eyes, like they were burning holes through me. I ducked down, biting my lip to keep from screaming, and the footsteps stopped. Silence, except for the rain. Then, a thud. Something heavy hitting the counter above me. I looked up and saw the hair again, more of it, dripping wet, sliding off the edge like it was alive. I stayed there, frozen, until I heard a car pull up around 3 a.m. Headlights cut through the rain, and a trucker banged on the door, yelling for gas. I scrambled up, nearly tripping, and unlocked the door, practically dragging him inside. He was a big guy, grizzled, smelling of cigarettes, and he looked at me like I was crazy when I babbled about something in the store. I didn't care. I just needed someone else there. He stayed until dawn, grumbling about the weather while I sat behind the counter watching the shadows.